subscribe to our videos so that more people can hear the Word of God.
Good morning and welcome to 5 Minutes a Day with God, and welcome to Thursday. And today we are in a new chapter, John chapter 20, and we are getting onto the cusp of the resurrection story. So this is the good news. Jesus didn't stay dead, he rose from the dead. So we are going to look at just 4 verses today, and we're just going to look at the discovery of the empty tomb. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they had put him." So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. All right, we're just going to look at just these 4 verses here. So, have to remember that there was a lot of customs on how to properly wrap the body and prepare the body for burial. But again, because Sabbath was approaching, they weren't allowed to touch dead bodies during Sabbath. And it was also Passover. So because of that, Joseph and Nicodemus probably did the best that they could, but they probably didn't finish, because if you remember, they had pounds and pounds of spices, and so they probably did the best that they could, because also according to Jewish custom, they had to clean the body. And if you think about it, Jesus' body was a wreck, right? They had to take little pieces of all the thorns that were in his head. They had to wash the blood off. They had to wash his wounds. And so before they could prepare the body, wrap the body, they had to wash the body and clean the body. And that probably took a long time. And so the women are coming early because they want to finish the job, basically. They want to make sure that Jesus gets a proper burial. And so just also to note, John only mentions Mary here, but there was other women here that had come together to do this job. But John mentions Mary only because Mary's the one that runs and gets Peter and him. So what happens, Mary sees the scene, and so she runs to go get him. And then John and Peter are just thinking, what is happening, right? What could happen? And so they run to the tomb. And so just something to note, John gets there first because Peter has about 20 years on John. So they leave at the same time, but John is 20 years younger, and he runs to the tomb and he gets there first. And I just want you to just kind of think about it for a moment before we get into the scene. Think about what could possibly be going on in their minds, right? So Mary, who loves Jesus, who was at the feet of Jesus, literally, she was witnessing her Lord being utterly, just horrifically abused and crucified, and how painful that would have been, right? To just see him being crucified and all the pain that he went through. And so her desire and other women was to do this beautiful act of service to make sure that his body got wrapped well and got buried well. And perhaps in the back of her mind, she would remember something about a resurrection, but maybe she was too full of grief to think that it could possibly happen. So her first thought maybe was those people who killed my Jesus, right? Who murdered him, who crucified him, they also stole his body. Maybe that's what she was just thinking about, the grief of his body being taken away. And then we think of Peter, right? Peter, who had just not too long ago had denied Jesus, denied even being with him, even knowing him, of being associated with him. Yet he's with John. So there's some kind of hope there, right? His faith hadn't left. It was his courage. But he also had abandoned Jesus, and not just he didn't deny him, but he abandoned Jesus while Jesus was on the cross. The only disciples there were John and the women. And so maybe he's feeling also his own grief, shame, guilt. And then what's happened to my Lord? Where did he go? And then you think of John. John was faithful to the very end, right? He was the only male disciple that was there at the foot of the cross. And in fact, we'll see what we saw last week, that Jesus turned to him and gave him that beautiful gift of caring for his mother. And so John, who's younger and faster, is running towards the tomb because there had to be some kind of response, right? And what they see, what they encounter, will change the world. And so we're just going to leave it there. But think about when you receive news, right? How do you respond to it? Is it just doubt? Could this be happening? Could, life-changing news? Or is it fear or grief or sadness? Or is it hope? Right? They all approach this in a different manner. And we'll see as they engage into actually going into the tomb and finding Jesus. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Have a good day, and remember, 5 minutes in the Word can change your life.